Ah, the city lights. Candy. Whoa. Yeah? She knows how to make an entrance? Yes. Is this Nina? It is, isn't it? I was literally about to say, this is a really attractive person. You know, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's got to be Nina, right? The thought actually occurred to me because I saw the blonde hair, right, from the side, but I wasn't sure how she could possibly be in this situation. Looks like she might be doing some of her own, I don't know, research or... Yeah. Be my baby. Dieter. Hey, Heckle. Keep it down, boy. Ah, interesting. It's pretty good. Love that banter. I'm sure that's quite authentic, the look of it from the outside. He's drawing a bit of attention to himself, this fellow. Oh, hey, that's the guy. It was him and the other guy who came for Tenma. Oh boy. I think he's had his run-in. Ah, okay, he's a junkie. Tenma? Messner, that's the name. Just got his hand in there. Yeah. Ah, he's fallen on hard times. Forgot. Oh, look at his eyes though. I don't know if he wants to speak about him. Maura. Yeah, because if Johan wanted you dead. Whoa. This man is going through it. Look at him. Just give me something, I'll leave. The baby. Be my baby, eh? Ah. Dresden.
生まれたんだ。怪物。もう言ってくれ。あとは全部あの娘に話した。
Nina.
娘って銃突きつけて復讐に来やがった。
She's been at it as well then.
ニナフォルトナーが来たのか。
I mean, she...
赤ん坊に言われたんだ。もしあの娘が現れたら自分のところへ来るように仕向けろって。
And that's how she ends up at Candy.
あの娘は大事な餌だって。大事な
Oh god.
餌。
She got herself in some trouble here. Careful, Nina.
赤ん坊に会いたいって言ったのはこの娘か。
She's in there. Ooh.
はい。
こちらへどうぞ。
Look at this, man. He kind of reminds me of Crocodile as well. There's that innocent look that I'm used to. Oh, I'm so on edge.
その印の上で待っていてください。ああ、ダメダメ。その上。そうそう。
So. She's tall, just like Johan. Oh god, is this him? And that's... Okay. Checks out.
知ってますかこの曲。
The baby.
心地いいリズム。思わず乗ってしまいますよ。ニーナ・フォルトナーさん。
I feel like he's similar to that Lynch character.
この国は第二のヒトラーが生まれればもう大丈夫だって。あの女はその餌なんだ。
Jesus.
何でも知ってますよ。またの名をアンナ・リー
My
ベル。
god.
でもどれも本当の名前じゃない。
あなたは兄の居場所を知っているって聞いたわ。
ああ、ヨハンか。いい名だ。
殺さなきゃいけないの。
そんな物騒なもの振り回さないでくださいよ。ヨハンは必ずあなたに会いに現れますよ。
This is clearly a man that casts a large shadow.
この辺はガキの頃住んでたから裏の路地まで知り尽くしてんだ。
Ah, it's another shop now.
どうしたのおじさん。
Things change.
これは一体トルコ人街になっちまってるな。こりゃ偽物だな。何言ってんだよ。まあかわいそうだから100マルクで引き取ってやってもいいぜ。これだから嫌なんだ。前のドイツ人の店主なら1万マルクは払ったぜ。なら持って帰りな。正真正銘の上物だ。
He's gonna try to steal it.
あれが15万だって。
ねえ、なんか食べよう。
Didn't Tenma give him any money? I'm surprised.
物にすりゃ飯なんか食い放題だってんだよ。
物にするってどうやって？
任しときなって。なんだよその目つきは。
He knows.
泥棒だ。
Yeah.
声がでかいよ。
Yeah, I was gonna say an interesting choice of babysitter. I mean, yeah, he doesn't have too many choices, right?
あんたみたいな東洋人がのこのこ入ってったら
Yeah.
殺されちまうかもしれないんだよ。
君こそトルコ人だろ。
私の友達があそこの連中に連れ去られちまったんだよ。なんか連中の秘密を知っちまったみたいでさ。
秘密？
なんだか知らないよ。でも早いとこ助けてやらなきゃ今頃どんな目に遭ってるか。
私も知り合いの女性があの中にいるんだ。
どんな子だい？もしかしてブロンドでロングヘアの子？
That's the one.
さあ、今はどんな髪型をしている？
Yeah, good point.
その子ならさっき車で連れてかれたよ。けど赤ん坊も一緒だったから奴の屋敷かも。
赤ん坊？
The baby.
その車の車種は？色は？
あの子うちにまだちっちゃな子供がいるんだ。頼むよ。
He'll be on the lookout, I'm sure. Wow. Oh. Is it the baby in his bed?
なん
Oh,
だ。死んでないや。
look at this. Love the angle they use there. Nina, careful. I mean, she's in the lion's den at this point.
おお、なかなか美しい娘じゃないか。さすがヨハンの双子の妹だ。
I mean, he's quite pretty himself, isn't he? Johan. Seen that photo.
ゲーデリッツ教授。 そのヨハンと一緒に写っているのはボルフ将軍だ。他に2人、合わせて4人で私たちは組織を統括している。果物は召し上がるかね。
4 pieces.
兄にヨハンに会わせてください。
会えるとも。君がここにいると分かれば彼は必ず現れる。
That's the bait.
彼は君が必要なんだ。私たちは彼を必要としている。
The
我
king?
々の上に座ってもらうためにね。ヒトラーがなぜあれほどの力を得たか知っているかね。彼は頭のいい実務家でね。3つのポイントを知っていた。
I mean, he was a charismatic speaker.
銀行を抑え軍需産業を取り込み、そして軍隊を掌握した。今ヨハンはそのいずれかに潜んでいる。
Mm.
ただしヒトラーがそれを成し得たのは彼のカリスマ性のおかげだ。ヒトラーは美術学校の受験に失敗し、軍隊でも5丁止まりだった。彼がカリスマを表したのは30歳を過ぎてからのことだ。ところがヨハンはどうだね。彼には子供の頃から怪物的なカリスマがあった。
Monstrous
まる
charisma.
でイエス・キリストのようじゃないか。我ら4人
4
も
pieces of
子供の
fruit.
頃からのヨハンの才能に注目していたんだよ。ここにしばらくいてほしい。ヨハンが君に会いに現れるまでね。
ここでヨハンを待つわ。
結構。
Look at this.
果物を召し上がれ。
Oh no, Tenma.
気がついたようでちゅね。心配いりませんよ。骨が折れたりはし
He
てません
takes up the
から
entire
ね。
frame.
なぜ私のことを
My guy, come on.
何をやろうとしてるんですか。ヨハンを探し出してどうしようって言うんですか。
ニナをどうする気だ。
質問するなと言ってるだろうが。ニーナは大事なお客様だ。お前のようなゴミとは違うんだ。
無事なんだな。
今はね。でもあの子はとっても危険。そういう人間はじきに処分しなくちゃ。
ニナはヨハンを呼び出すまでの道具というわけか。
Bait.
お前たちは何者だ。何をしようと。
また質問だ。お前たちのような不人士が私たちに質問する資格
Know your place?
そういう生意気な態度を取るから町ごと焼き払われることになるんだ。
町ごと。
The Turkish?
明日の晩は夜空がきれいに染まるんだ。
Oh, they're gonna burn it. Nice. It's a message. Ooh, ooh. Oh, nice. Oh, okay. Oh, it's that Turkish lady's friend.
あなた片言のドイツ語ね。どこの国の人？
Turkey.
トルコ人、私、殺される。
She knows a secret, right?
私
So,
はどうしてもここにいなくちゃいけないの。
お願いだ。
how about the chop?
早く知らせないと私の坊や死んでしまう。
明日の夜はヨハンを歓迎するパーティーでちゅ。この世の中には我々のような優秀な民族だけ生き残ればいい。
It's going
あ
there.
とは燃えてしまえばいいんでちゅ。
奴ら、明日の晩、
The whole
火を
district.
つける。トルコ人街、焼き払おうとしている。助けて。
Whoa, I mean, this episode took a turn, folks. Oof. Okay, episode 15. Yeah, that is, yeah, it's quite the pivot, isn't it? I've had a few standalone episodes, a few episodes kind of checking in on established characters, such as Lunge, and then, of course, the ever intriguing Eva. And then, of course, before that is an episode that is like truly a standalone episode, right? Him going through that town, Dr. Schumann, and all that. But now, it pivots into the main plot, essentially. I mean, it's dense. It's really quite dense. And I thought it was really quite impressive in its execution. I thought it really quite effectively navigated all of this new plot or new plot points, right? There's a lot of exposition here, a lot of setup. There's a lot of context, a lot of new characters. I mean, there's a plethora of new characters, factions. It really is quite dense. So yeah, I thought it was beautifully paced as well, right? That felt like something that was much longer than 20 minutes of an anime episode to me, this type of episode really does feel like a 45-minute plus live action show, or an episode of a live action show. Again, something that could be airing on HBO or premium television. So yeah, you have to give them great credit for that, for the pacing of this as well, the delivery of this, and of course the exciting reintroduction of Anna Nina. It caught me by surprise, of course. I was not expecting to see her like this, right? So, yeah, it looks like she's been doing her thing as well. Hell, it actually looks like she's been a little bit more successful in terms of, kind of navigating and getting to the right places, the dangerous places, of course, but still the right places. She is on the right path in terms of potentially, I don't know, reuniting with Johan. Listen, she might feel that she is in the right place at the moment, that she is going to stick around in that house, in that mansion. And, right at the end there, she is being put into this really interesting situation, right? Quite the conundrum for her. Because now, does she, I don't know, go help this lady somehow? Even if she can, it's kind of tough to see how she could possibly help this lady. But, it's that. And then, of course, the other option is that, she kind of just sticks to this path, the path that she believes is going to bring her to Johan, or is going to bring Johan to her. Now, of course, us, the audience, knows. No chance in hell. Johan is just going to, fall for this. No, there's just no chance. These new characters that are introduced, characters like the baby and this professor, and there's a mention of a few others as well. This group, this cult, essentially, right? He said there's 4 of them, and of course, the visual depiction of the 4 pairs, and then the other fruit. I'm not sure if that is dragon fruit. No, it's not quite dragon fruit, is it? But it's meant to resemble. It's meant to depict Johan, right? And he puts that fruit on top, right? Yeah, these men, the baby and this professor, they seem really quite sure that, yeah, they'll draw Johan out. Johan is going to surface soon enough. They're so mistaken. They are just so misguided. These poor bastards, they are going to get hit. Johan is going to deal with this. He's going to deal with them. Listen, they've got his sister, right? And they've got Tenma as well. Now, the thing is, Nina's been out there. She's been out there for almost a year at this point, right? It's been almost a year since the murders, the Fortners, right? I think he specified 10 months, to be specific here. Yeah, so she's been up to her own thing. So, I do hope I get a bit of a flashback-esque episode for her as well. I got one for Tenma. It showed me how exactly he goes from the Tenma I knew to a much more colder Tenma. And you certainly see that cold Tenma on showcase in this episode as well, right? You see his handling of Messner, right? And I'll come back to Tenma and Messner in a bit. Of course, there's the reintroduction of Heckle as well, acting as babysitter for Dieter. I don't know how others feel about Heckle, but I was happy to see him, right? I don't know if you can say, I don't know, again, it's subjective, but the way he's presented, he's not really depicted as someone that is just truly evil, truly bad. He kind of falls in the gray area. Yes, he does some terrible things. He's open to doing these terrible things, questionable things, and you see that Dieter doesn't approve either. I can't stop thinking about Dieter booting him in the face and saying, "Nice heading." Oh man, I love Dieter. I love this little dude. He really is such a joy to have in this cast. And I truly hope throughout the span of this story, I do kind of get to see him grow up. And I just hope nothing bad happens to him. Listen, I'm sure he's going to end up in some bad situations just by association, just by being on this journey alongside Tenma, right? And Heckle, like I said, Heckle is someone I like as a character, but maybe he's not the greatest person to be leaving a child with. But that being said, Tenma is not flush for choices at the moment. So he does kind of have a rapport built up with Heckle, right? So yeah, somehow he got him to do it, and Heckle agreed to it. Though I must admit, I was a little bit surprised that he didn't give Heckle any money for Dieter, right? Just for food. And that it was really up to Heckle to go out there and sell stuff to just feed Dieter. So, that also kind of left me a little bit puzzled. Maybe he just didn't trust Heckle with any type of money. But, again, Dieter is in his care at this point. I'm speaking of Tenma. So, yeah, a bit surprising. But also, you do have to kind of look at it from another perspective here. Tenma is caught up in going after Johan, right? Like I mentioned, he's got tunnel vision as well at the moment. So, maybe his judgment is not as sound as it used to be, right? Maybe months ago, maybe a year ago, this is something he could not even imagine doing, leaving a child with someone like Heckle. But since then, he's come to learn some things. He's come to learn much more about himself as well. And, that he has to change. He has to look at it from another angle, another perspective, if he is going to go down this path. And now he's truly caught up in a totally different side of this, country, of this world. It is just so beyond his regular world that they set up in the first few episodes, right? My goodness, this is quite the dramatic shift for him, isn't it? And you see, he is still naive, as that Turkish lady actually saves him from going into just walking right into Candy, that bar that is clearly not too fond of people that look like him. Right, so she saves him from going in there. Though, as I am on the topic of that bar, that establishment, I think it's more so than a bar, isn't it? Let's kind of go back to the opening, right? Nina or Anna coming in there because she was able to get that information through Messner, and Messner was told by the baby who had a hand in protecting him, in saving him, because of course, he was the source of information as well. So I'm sure the baby was able to get information out of Messner as well, just as Tenma and Nina are able to get information out of him. But then he also left Messner out there as bait. They wanted to protect Messner as bait for Nina, for Anna, who is now also serving as bait for Johan, right? It's a bit of a chain reaction. So they leave Messner out there because they know sooner or later she'll probably come across him, or she'll probably understand that she needs to go to this man. That's the connection to the murders of her own guardian figures, her parents, essentially, almost a year ago. So they anticipated that she is going to come across him at some point. And of course, as baby wanted, Messner feeds that information to her, tells her about the candy establishment, candy bar, and she goes there, and now she's truly in their clutches. I mean, from her perspective, she's there by choice. She wants to be held in that mansion. She's staying there. She's saying that, no, I have no reason to fight you on this. At the moment, I'm choosing to stay here as well, because she feels that, yes, Johan is going to come, right? Now, listen, like I said earlier, I do not think Johan is about to show up at that mansion or anything. But, knowing Johan, 15 episodes in, he'll pull something off. Of course, Nina's going to get out of there. Of course, Tenma's going to get out of their clutches as well. And I do think these men, the baby, this professor, there's a name drop once again of the Wolf, General Wolf, right? These men have it coming. They do, right? They keep, like I said, there's this cult. They're just obsessed with the idea of Johan, right? The things that he represents. I just think that they're so misguided in their perception of Johan, that they truly believe he'd be open to leading them into this new era, recapturing the former glory of this nation, right? The second coming of Hitler, right? Jesus Christ himself. I mean, listen, I'll be honest. I was expecting some sort of neo-Nazi element in the story at some point, right? And I think that's it's realistic to expect that. But yeah, this is going all in. You've got full scale factions here that are clearly quite connected. They are quite high up in the hierarchy from the looks of it. There's the influx of immigrants as well. Turkish immigrants specifically are focused on in this episode, right? The Turkish district. You see through Heckle that, it's an ever-changing landscape. He tells Dieter that he grew up here, that he knows the back alleys, he knows all the shops and the places. But you see that he's really quite surprised and shocked by the ever-changing landscape, right? It is now essentially known as a Turkish district altogether. And you see that he goes into that shop, tries to rip off, tries to con the shopkeep, the carpet shop, I suppose. But no, unlike before, he's not able to con this shopkeep because this shopkeep happens to be an expert on rugs, on carpets. He knows all the details, right? He's a connoisseur, essentially. So, you see that Dieter's frustrated that he can't con this shopkeep like he used to, the old one. And I'm guessing the older one was probably a German fellow. I mean, he was, yeah. Not Dieter. Heckle confirms here, right? Oh, the German owner, the past German owner used to pay me much more, right? Essentially, he was able to con the German owner because the German owner could not tell the difference from a fake and a real one, an authentic. So yeah, you see Heckle's reaction to the changing landscape, perhaps a bit of xenophobia in there as well, right? But again, I don't know. I'm not even sure if I sound like I'm defending the character that is Heckle, but I just don't get. I'm being honest about my perception of him so far. He doesn't feel like the worst, right? That's just my feeling on the matter. Again, capable of terrible things. Is he as terrible as some of these others I've seen? The baby, right? This really strange looking fellow, who I believe is inspired by a David Lynch character, but it's a rare case because I don't think I've actually seen it. I believe it's from Twin Peaks. There is a character just like that. I'm sure that was the inspiration for the baby. But yeah, I've seen most of Lynch's work. Twin Peaks is essentially the last thing that's on my list, right? It has been for a long time. And the reason I didn't really get to it yet is because there is a possibility that I could cover it on the channel. But, I've been told over the years that it's a difficult one to make content for on YouTube. It does get targeted a lot. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll check it out in my own time. But I've got to get to it sooner rather than later because it's been on my list for years at this point. And I am a big fan of David Lynch. So yeah, Twin Peaks, highly regarded, of course, the best of all time, one of the greatest shows of all time. It usually ends up on those top 25 lists or top 10 lists. So yeah, and then of course there's The Return that happened a few years ago. So yeah, I would love to get to that. But going back to the baby, yeah, one of the new characters introduced in this episode, he's an interesting one. Yeah, he's despicable. He's capable of terrible things, right? But interesting nonetheless. I mean, like I said earlier during the episode itself, this is a man who casts a large shadow, a looming presence, a larger than life figure. Right, and it's all by design. You even see it in the visual storytelling, in the photography, in the framing, the composition of it all. Right, a lot of times he'll take up most of the frame as he leans in. He's all about the elite, isn't he? Right, and of course it's by design. The fact that he looks like that, yet he feels superior. He thinks he's superior to everyone else, to foreigners. I believe the line of dialogue was, "Foreigners like you have no right to question us." Right? Essentially, know your place. You're an outsider, trash. I think he said that Nina is a special guest, unlike you, unlike trash like you, as he speaks to Tenma. An outsider, of course. So yeah, it is leaning into that aspect of it as well. I think I brought this up some time ago at this point. That aspect of it, Tenma being an immigrant, being, Japanese, someone that stands out quite a bit. Right? It is focusing on that now. Like he said, all the rest should burn and only superior people like us should survive this world. And yeah, that's the plan at the moment, to burn down the Turkish district. And I think he said something like, or the professor said something. Oh, no, it was the baby. He's telling Tenma that, yeah, it's going to be this welcome to Johan, almost as a gift, right? Yeah, so let's see how that plays out. And of course, our connection to the Turkish district at this point is Heckle and Dieter. And then of course, all these innocent people, right? All these immigrants, Turkish immigrants as well, that have no idea. Except that one lady, that lady's friend, who clearly, somehow heard this or somehow came across this secret. And then, they took her for that reason. And her child as well, right? But yeah, going back to the baby, it's quite the interesting introduction. Really creepy, really jarring. Yeah, just everything about him is just so off. And the thing is, the whole time, I just felt so uneasy. I just felt so protective and like on edge, seeing Nina in an establishment like that, being around these types of people, being around the baby, and then of course being, being taken to that mansion. I don't know, man. I was just like, please don't let anything terrible happen to her. That guy reached out to her bum at that one point, and I almost kind of, cringed. I was like, oh, don't touch her. It was really, I don't know, it was interesting to see her in that establishment and be so close to these types of people. And then, of course, they finally bring her in to the baby's office. And, there's a strange moment. The guy who kind of resembled Crocodile from One Piece, he asked her to step on that rug, right? And he tells her, no, right on top of it, right on top of that eye. Essentially kind of looks like the eye of Ra, right? Of course, it's from Egyptian culture. So it's interesting, that this guy who's all about the pure people, right? Superior people, he's got this rug, right? Unless it's this notion of disrespecting that symbol, getting people to stand on it, right? Now, this is not an era that you kind of expect cameras or anything to be installed inside of that carpet, because you just don't have that type of tech at that point. So it's interesting that he gets Nina and other people as well from the looks of it. It's not something that they brought out just for Nina to stand on that. But listen, I've got to say, let's not beat around the bush. Nina, I mean, her return is a bombastic one. Before I know for sure it's Nina, like I'm looking at this person, I'm like, my goodness, this is a really attractive person, right? I mean, it's been 10 months, it's been close to a year, and yeah, Nina has grown up, that's for sure. And you see that she's using that aspect of it as well, right? She is. Listen, they've established that Nina is quite the intelligent individual. She's quite bright, that she excels in a lot of different things. That was really quite clear in the introduction episode, the reintroduction to Nina. And it did it so effectively by showcasing a day in the life of Nina. So yeah, she's been doing her thing these past 10 months, right? I really, really need a flashback episode. I really do, right? She can handle a gun. She's clever about it as well. She's got a gun strapped to her thigh. So let's see if that's going to come into play. But let's shift the focus to the other sibling, to Johan. Yeah, there's yet another few names added to the list at this point, right? The monster, the devil, the Antichrist, Jesus himself, Hitler 2.0. This is essentially the perception of so many different people. These terms that are being applied to Johan. These people, Johan's cult following, essentially, they've essentially built him up as this messiah figure, right? They've made that really quite clear. They've built him up as the savior. They've built him up as someone who is going to return their nation to its former glory, right? Channeling Hitler, perhaps. So they've pinned all their ideologies and their dreams. They've projected these beliefs on this savior figure of theirs. There is a level of delusion there, isn't there? And I think all of them are set for a rude awakening. All of these people. And, I mentioned that there is this level of delusion there. Some of these men, especially, if you listen to the professor at the dinner table, they believe that, they've been around for so long. They've known about Johan and his talents, his specific talents for so long that they believe that they might have groomed him even, that they are able to shape him, that they are able to make him this leader. But again, like I said, rude awakening coming up for all of them, I think. Now, even though I expected some sort of Nazi element to this, or neo-Nazis, extremists, I did not expect this type of focus on Hitler himself, right? There's a prolonged segment just focusing on him. I mean, hell, there's even an image of him on screen, right? So, yeah, it's interesting. I wasn't expecting it, but yeah, it's a tricky thing to do, isn't it? Because yeah, anytime there's a story that's based in Germany, sooner or later it goes down that path, and it's a hit and miss. It usually is a hit and miss. A lot of people don't like it, right? It's like you can talk about more than that. There's more to Germany than that. Of course there is, but again, this is the time era. This is not modern day Germany, is it? And then, of course, let's not forget that it's clearly by design that Johan does have those blue eyes, that blonde hair. He's meant to be handsome. He's meant to be, I don't know, this symbol of perfection, right? That's that's clearly by design, and then it is applicable to Nina Anna as well, isn't it? I mean, she already resembled Johan before as well, right? I think I mentioned a few episodes ago at this point, she's at the guidance counselor's office, or in his office. It's kind of focusing on Nina. It's a tight shot. But, her hairline, the flow of her hair, and the structure, her facial structure, to me, just looked like if she was to get the same haircut as Johan, she could easily pass as Johan, right? So, I don't know. Let's see if that comes into play at some point. I noticed that she's a bit taller as well at this point, much like Johan. But the professor did say something interesting, that apparently Johan is in the process of actually taking control of one of those elements. He mentioned 3 essential elements: seize the military, control the banks, and stimulate the munitions, I believe he said. And yeah, he said that Johan actually is close to gaining control of one of those elements, or that Johan is secretly gaining power in one of these. Yeah, in terms of taking a guess at it, the immediate thought is perhaps the banks. But circling back to Tenma and Messner, I thought it was a great establishing shot, exterior shot of Frankfurt Station. So I'm sure for many of you, that's quite the sight. I'm sure it's really quite authentic. So yeah, that's definitely getting added to the list of places I do need to go to on my German tour at some point. I'm hoping early 2024. I do plan on traveling quite a bit in 2024. I'm planning for it at the moment. Like I mentioned before, places like Japan, Iceland, Germany. But yeah, it goes back and it ties up that part of the story, of the plot. Messner and his partner, who is doing all right for himself at the moment, but Messner is tweaking. He's a junkie. He's struggling out here, but he's been kept alive as well, right? I mean, both Tenma and I are surprised that he is alive. Somehow he's still kept alive. But yeah, then he said that this third party stepped in, again, the baby, and saved him. They needed him alive. They needed him to be out there as well, right? They needed him for information as well. Yeah, but turns out he was actually the lookout, and his partner is the one who did the killing and received quite a bit more in terms of compensation, right? But yeah, I think, did both of them have blood on their raincoats, or was it just one of them? Mueller, was it? And then also lastly on Dieter and Heckle, I mentioned that little kickabout. Dieter is playing around. He's got his football. And of course, Heckle is annoyed that he's stuck babysitting. But the thing is, you see that Dieter is learning other things as well, other perspectives as well. At one point, Dieter's going on about yellow cards, and that, if you don't stop doing that, if you don't stop grabbing the ball, you're going to get a red card, right? If you don't start following the rules, you're going to be penalized. And Heckle tells him that you cannot go through life worrying about that, right? About all the rules. So it's interesting. It's interesting that, Dieter is around a lot of really unique and interesting people, a lot of different perspectives. So it'll be interesting to see the other people that Dieter is going to come across on his journey alongside Tenma. Is he going to come across Nina at some point as well? Because I am expecting Tenma and Nina to maybe come across each other at some point. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. Really good episode. Really quite engaging. And it's quite the shift back into the main plot of the show as well. And I'm expecting perhaps a few episodes of this nature, and then perhaps we'll pivot back to the standalone approach as well, right? But yeah, if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access, or perhaps even timer-based full length or full opacity, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for episode 16. Until then, take it easy.